YouTube, today we're going to go over the Dialga Perrserker team that we used for Baek Battles. Let's get started and roll the episode. So why Dialga and Perrserker? Well, I saw comments on one of my videos, and yes, I do read the comments, and I ended up seeing this idea for a Metal Sound Perrserker team next to Dialga, and I thought it was really intriguing, so I ended up looking more into it and decided to build a team off that idea. I thought it was pretty cool because Perrserker with the Steely Spirit, powering out the Dialga with the Metal Sound, having that fake outs that can help set up Trick Room potentially, just seemed like a really solid idea, so I wanted to build a team around this idea. So how was the team formed? Well, it started off with the duo of Perrserker and Dialga for the Steely Spirit and Metal Sound powering up the Dialga. I wanted to make sure I have another lead though to help set up Trick Room, because even though I have Fake Out, of course Dialga and Perrserker share a lot of common weaknesses, and Dialga is a decently bulky Pokemon, but it's not like the hardest Pokemon to break through. So I really want a way to make Dialga bulkier, and I really did like having the screens Grimmsnarl, and it makes Dialga really hard to break through, especially with Dynamax with the stat boosting moves through the max. I really do like Grimmsnarl and Dialga overall. I have a lot of mind games too with the trick set that they have fake tiers, and yeah, like I have a lot of mind games based off that specific lead, and I just really like the consistency of setting up Trick Room. And yeah, I just really liked having the screens with Dialga. I felt it made Perrserker bulkier and Dialga bulkier to set up Trick Room usually much easier. So I had those three. The next Pokemon, I wanted a Pokemon that could abuse the Metal Sound more from Perrserker. I also really liked the idea of having a Pokemon that can deal with ground types, because my ground type matchup is not great. So I added Abomasnow. Now I liked Abomasnow because of Weather Wars. I liked having the way to change the weather. I really like the grass typing. I like the way to hit Gastrodon and Landispharian for a lot of damage. Changing the weather for Kyogre I felt like is really nice too. And I felt like Abomasnow just ended up fitting that role, and that's what I really liked about it. So I used Dialga and Abomasnow back in Series 8, and I remember it being a lot of fun. So I want to bring that back with Abomasnow in this format with a little bit of a different twist. And yeah, it can abuse the Metal Sound from the Perrserker if it does come down to that situation. Next, I wanted a fire type that was Incineroar, because if I added Incineroar to the team, I had 3 Pokemon weak to ground and 4 Pokemon weak to fighting, which didn't seem that optimal. I also wanted a Pokemon that was immune to ground type attacks, of course, because even though Abomasnow resists, it's not really a great switch in. So I would like a resist to ground type attacks. And of course, Rotom Heat was a Pokemon that fit that role very nicely, immune to the ground types, helps out against Sun, especially like the Charizard stuff, and it is really nice to have. So I really do like the Rotom Heat. It helps against a lot of the Sun teams, provides that role, helps it against Zacian, which can be a little bit troublesome, especially if their Sacred Sword makes it a little bit difficult for me. So I really do like having that Rotom Heat for Zacian, for Sun teams, and a fire type overall to help out against Ferrothorn and just a bunch of other stuff that could be annoying to the team. So Rotom Heat was that choice. And then last Pokemon, I knew I wanted a water type on my team. I felt like my team was really weak to Incineroar otherwise. And yeah, Gyarados was a perfect Pokemon. It's a bulky Pokemon, special defensive wise, which I really do like on this team. Having that Intimidate for Incineroar is really nice, and just Intimidate in general is just really good. But having a Pokemon that can switch into Incineroar and deal damage to it is really good. And of course, Earthquake for the self policy proc, and it's immune to ground type attacks as well. I really just like that about Gyarados, and it just fit really well on this team, and that's how the 6 was formed. Alright, let's go over the items, the movesets, and the EV spreads of the team. We have the Perrserker up first with the Figgy Berry, with Steely Spirit as the ability, with Iron Head, Metal Sound, Fake Out, and Protect. Now this set just screamed out to me when I saw the Metal Sound idea next to Dialga. I really thought it was a really cool Pokemon, because normally I feel like I would probably, and most others would, if you are going to use Perrserker, might as well use it with Zacian. That Behemoth Blade absolutely goes insane. But the Metal Sound idea just had something that was really intriguing to me. So I really want to make the set work, especially since Perrserker has Fake Out support. It sounded really nice to set up Trick Room with Fake Out into Trick Room, and then start doing damage with the Metal Sound, especially with the Steely Spirit. Seems incredible. So we are using this bulky Perrserker set with the Iron Head, Metal Sound, Fake Out, and Protect. Of course, Metal Sound to power up the Dialga. The Iron Head just for the extra damage, and it is the best move that Perrserker can use. Fake Out is really nice for supporting the Dialga, setting up Trick Room, or setting up screens even if I lead like Perrserker plus Grimmsnarl. And then Protect, of course, because I want Perrserker to have good positioning and just protect itself in order to survive, keep it alive on the field for Dialga. to abuse the Steely Spirit and the Metal Sound. So I thought about moves other than Iron Head. I was looking into it and I didn't really see anything that could activate weakness policy on Dialga, and I might as well just have the extra power of having Iron Head, which will do decent damage, especially with the Steely Spirit and the decent physical attack that Perrserker has. So might as well just keep Iron Head. And then the EV spread, it was pretty simple. I went with max HP and max special defense with the leftover into defense. The main reason I invested max into special defense is because Perrserker has a really low special defense and not that great of HP. It's decent, 70 isn't that bad, but it's not amazing, and its low special defense makes it really hard for Perrserker to survive special moves in general. And I felt like since I was using a support set, I don't really need to invest into attack if I'm clicking Metal Sound most of the time. So I decided to just have into special defense so Perrserker can survive on the field, because even with screens, it's not going to take the attack super well. So I might as well just invest it into max special defense. I didn't need the extra attacking power. And yeah, Perrserker was just supposed to stay on the field, fake out to help support the team, and then Metal Sound so Dialga or Abomasnow or Rotom Heat can dish out a lot of damage under the Trick Room. Next Pokemon, we got Life Orb Abomasnow with the Snow Warning ability, Blizzard, Energy Ball, Earth Power, and Protect. Now Abomasnow is a weird Pokemon in this format because Sun is as popular as ever, and then you got Pokemon like Zacian, and there's just a lot of Pokemon that Abomasnow don't like dealing with. But I liked Abomasnow on this team for a few roles. Helps against Kyogre. The Weather Wars is pretty nice. I don't really bring Abomasnow against Sun matchups, but I might do it on a rare occasion if Abomasnow seems like it can do a lot of work depending on the rest of the team. And I really do think that having Abomasnow for those ground types such as the Landorus variant and the Gastrodon were pretty huge, and dealing big damage to like Thundurus incarnate form as well, which can be a pain if it is the support set. So I really do like Life Orb on the Abomasnow. I did consider having a Assault Vest, but when I was having the team built, I had Gyarados and added it afterward, and I wanted the Assault Vest more on Gyarados than Abomasnow. Even though Abomasnow could switch into the Water type moves from the Kyogre better with the Assault Vest, I think Life Orb was still a great change regardless. I like the extra power that Abomasnow can have. Can really take advantage of the Metal Sound from the Perrserker if we do get that rare situation under Trick Room where it is Perrserker next to Abomasnow, and be able to throw off Metal Sounds, and the extra Life Orb damage can matter, maybe on like Assault Vest and Incineroar for instance. And that seemed pretty nice to have, especially since this team does rely on heavy offense under Trick Room, and I didn't have the Life Orb item in use throughout the team, so might as well just put it on the Abomasnow. We have the Blizzard, Energy Ball, Earth Power, and Protect. Blizzard, of course, with the ability Snow Warning, summoning the hail, makes Blizzard 100% accurate, and it's a super strong move in general. Energy Ball, I do like it over Giga Drain. Giga Drain's a little bit weak in my opinion, especially against Dynamax, Kyogre for instance, and Grass Knot doesn't work on Dynamax Pokemon, so Energy Ball seemed like the best move. Of course, I could have ran Woodhammer, but I did want to invest more into max special attack, I felt like, in general, just because I wanted to have more consistency, and I really wanted the Blizzard to hit super strong, so just ended up going with the max special attack and throwing Energy Ball. And I felt like since Kyogre usually pairs off with Intimidate anyway, that I would rather just have Energy Ball because it will still do a good amount of damage regardless, even though Woodhammer would be stronger and on the physical defensive side of Kyogre is weaker. I just felt Energy Ball was more consistent overall. Earth Power was my next move of choice. I was debating about this between Ice Shard and Aurora Veil potentially, but I just thought like it wasn't really worth having Ice Shard. I felt like there wasn't really much I could do with it, and I felt like Earth Power could be, again, very nice to hit Incineroar, which can be a little bit annoying to the team depending on the situation, and I do want us to stop parting shotting or potentially just Flare Blitz knocking me out. And I felt like Aurora Veil was a little bit overkill, especially since I had screens already with the Grimmsnarl. I didn't really see a situation where I was really getting to click Aurora Veil, so might as well just go Earth Power because it allows me to hit stuff like Zacian and Incineroar, which I felt like was really nice overall. And then of course Protect as the last move, because you do want to have the Abomasnow protected, especially since it is really weak to a lot of common types. And of course, for the Weather War, it does help preserving your Pokemon. So the EV spread was very simple, just a max HP set, max special attack set, and 4 special defense. Using the Life Orb, dish out a bunch of damage overall, and you know, that's basically what Abomasnow is supposed to do, just dish out a bunch of damage under the Trick Room. Alright, next we got Rotom Heat with the Citrus Berry set, Levitate for the ability with Overheat, Thunderbolt, Nasty Plant, Protect. Rotom Heat is an interesting Pokemon here. I needed a Pokemon for a fire typing because I felt like I wasn't going to use Incineroar on the team. I already was having triple fighting week basically with the team, so I was not going to have Incineroar, and I already had a Grimmsnarl for the dark coverage. And I felt like having that extra ground weakness too wasn't that amazing, so I wanted a fire type. and it was either between like Arcanine or Rotom Heat because I still wasn't sure about my Intimidate mount. But I decided that Rotom Heat was probably going to be the call just because of the fact that it's not weak to ground, which I felt like was a really big plus. So I liked having the Rotom Heat idea. It helped against a lot of the Sun teams, especially like Charizard and Venusaur. It does pretty decent against, so I really did like having that idea. So we ended up going with the Sitrus Berry set. I don't have the safety goggles on the Rotom Heat set because I feel like in best of one, they really shouldn't be clicking Sleep Powder against Rotom Heat, because usually against the Sun team, I'll lead like Rotom Heat and Grimmsnarl, and they have to fear a taunt from Grimmsnarl, and B, a safety goggles on Rotom Heat, which is a decently common move. So I feel like they're not going to click Sleep Powder most of the time and probably either max or switch out right away. So that's why I go with the Sitrus Berry set. And yeah, that's why I don't have goggles. But I feel like also that I want help on the Rotom Heat because it's my best Pokemon against the Sun team. So yeah, that's the main reason why. Overheat, Thunderbolt, Nasty Plot, and Protect. It's just a very standard Rotom Heat set. Of course, Overheat and Thunderbolt, the main damage dealers. Nasty Plot to boost up the special attack. And of course, Protect because this Pokemon doesn't really need any other coverage. So I really do think Rotom Heat's a decent Pokemon. It's strange against Sun because you do have to play a bit cautiously around the Groudon. But if you can play smart with it, and especially with the screens of a Grimmsnarl, help set up the Dynamax Nasty Plot setup a lot easier, because Rotom Heat usually takes a lot of damage while trying to set up a Nasty Plot and then won't have much HP. But with the screens up, I think it makes effective work with the Rotom Heat to set up a Nasty Plot and then dish out damage and have a good amount of HP for Dynamax remaining. So the EV spread is 252 HP, 100 defense, 36 special attack, 68 special defense, and 52 speed. With Rotom Heat, I feel like the EV spread can be adjusted quite a bit, but overall I wanted a bulky Rotom Heat set for a physically defensive set for Zacian, a little bit scary Pokemon. It can do a lot of damage with like Sacred Sword and close combat, and I really do like taking those attacks better even with screens up. I just like having that idea. 36 modest is really nice because it gives you an extra stat point, and I don't think you need to invest a lot into Rotom in order to deal damage, because it does a decent amount already if you don't Nasty Plot, and with Nasty Plot it will still be getting those KOs that it would generally want. So I really do like having that 36 benchmark. It's just a comfortable benchmark that I have for Rotom Heat or any Rotom sets throughout the Gen 8 period. And then I have the remaining into special defense and speed. The speed might not really matter. It might matter on different teams. I thought that 113 was fine because it outspeeds the 112 benchmark, which is for Pokemon like maybe Venusaur that tends to outspeed the Calyx Shadow Rider, because there are some slow Venusaurs out there that invest more in bulk and just have a bit of speed to outspeed like Shadow Rider Calyx, and this is just a speed creep that I feel like maybe a bit more speed could be a bit useful to speed creep those Venusaurs more effectively, because they actually might speed time my Rotom Heat. I've definitely seen some 113 Venusaurs out there, but overall I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just Rotom Heat is able to do good work against the Sun teams, and that's basically what I needed to do, and helps out against Zacian, which is really nice. The next Pokemon we have is Dialga with the Weakness Policy set, Pressure for the ability with Flash Cannon, Earth Power, Trick Room, and Thunder. So the item, wasn't too sure. I had Adamant Orb originally. I also considered Life Orb, but I ended up going with the Weakness Policy set because I like the idea of having the screens with Grimmsnarl and them trying to do super effective damage to Dialga to do a lot of damage, because Dialga is kind of a bulky Pokemon, especially behind the screens, and boosting up its stats with Dynamax. I felt like just having that Weakness Policy can really put on the pressure, so Dialga either lasts longer because they try to play around the Weakness Policy and Dialga is able to dish out a lot of damage, or they hit into my Weakness Policy and I'm able to dish out even more damage. So I really do like that idea, especially since the Steely Spirit and the Metal Sound on Perrserker is already powering up Dialga. Like, if they hit into my Weakness Policy set, I don't need Perrserker to dish out a lot of damage for Dialga anyway. So that's a nice backup plan. So it's not really relying on Perrserker, but the Perrserker is a really nice touch. And that's what I really like about the team. You don't always have to bring the Perrserker mode for Dialga to be a massive threat. So we have the Weakness Policy set with Pressure for the ability. And of course, there is Earthquake on the Gyarados, but I do want to use Earthquake to proc my own Weakness Policy potentially. So we do have to go for the Pressure. And we have Flash Cannon, Earth Power, Trick Room, and Thunder. Of course, Flash Cannon, Earth Power boosts up the defenses with Dynamax and Trick Room. In order to set up Trick Room on a Trick Room team, you need Trick Room somehow, so Dialga is the Trick Room mon. And the last move was between Protect or Thunder, and I thought with all the yawns running around with Sleep Powder and Spores, I might as well just have Thunder for the electric terrain, because I don't want my Dialga, whose Dynamax I think is very valuable, to be put under a sleep by an Amoonguss, which is probably the Pokemon I really wanted Thunder for. And it also helps out against like stuff like Blastoise and Kyogre, which can be a little bit troublesome to hit otherwise. So I really do like having that Thunder set. And then the EV spread really is just a bulky Dialga. That was mainly the goal with max HP. I really like having the 156 special attack with the Modest Nature. It gives me an extra stat point in the special attack. And I felt like with the Steel Spike and the Max Quake boost, I don't have to invest as much into defenses because I also have screens as well. So I really want to dish out a bunch of damage, because even if I don't go for the Metal Sound or the Steely Spirit or have my weakness policy procced, I still want Dialga to be doing a decent amount of damage. And that's why I have the special attack, because usually I'm always able to get screens up most of the games because I usually lead Grimmsnarl Dialga a lot. So that's the reason why. And I didn't go min speed Dialga because I just felt like there was really no reason to on the team. Like Perrserker already undersped Dialga, and I felt like there really wasn't a reason to. So on this team, even though I have hard Trick Room, it's not really relying on Trick Room. It does use Trick Room quite a bit for the Abomasnow Perrserker mode, but otherwise it does not need to use Trick Room in order to succeed. So just having a little bit of speed, especially for the opposing Trick Room matchup, which could be a factor. And I do like having this spread. I think it just ended up working out. Was just able to live quite a few attacks with the screens, the max boost, and just able to dish out a lot of damage, which I really like. So next we have Assault Vest Gyarados on a team with Intimidate, Waterfall, Power Whip, Stone Edge, and Earthquake. I really do like Assault Vest Gyarados. It fit a lot of roles that I wanted on the team. Intimidate, another ground immunity as well. And I just like Assault Vest Gyarados. It is great, a bulky water type that is good against Incineroar, can throw off another Intimidate. And yeah, it just does fantastic work. So having that bulky set, I do like Assault Vest as the item. I don't really like the other item choices, and it's really just good for in Dynamax and outside of Dynamax. It's pretty consistent. I like Waterfall and Power Whip on the team because Waterfall can hit the Incineroars and other fire types, which is really nice, and Power Whip for the Gastrodons and Kyogres, which I think is pretty good, and also hitting Urshifu if I have to, the water one. Stone Edge is really nice here for the Charizard matchup, and Earthquake to proc the policy. Now I could have went Bulldoze, but I felt like overall, like I just felt like I wasn't clicking Bulldoze anyway, and Earthquake actually does a decent amount of damage, especially if I have to Dynamax Gyarados and get max Quakes up. I prefer having the Earthquake in general. I did consider having Lash Out on the team, mainly for Calyrex Shadow Rider, which is also another pain to deal with, and I might consider it still. I don't think I really click Stone Edge too much against the Charizard matchup. Usually I would Dynamax Random Heat, but there were some instances I felt like Stone Edge on Gyarados could come into play, so wasn't too sure about that. I feel like the moveset definitely could be adjusted, but I felt like it did well regardless. And then for the EV spread, I ended up just wanting mostly into bulk, so I ended up having max HP. I want less attack, mainly because I want to deal less damage to my Dialga, specifically with Earthquake. And Gyarados hits pretty hard, and really the main reason for Gyarados on the team is for super effective damage and usually chipping away in my opponent's team. I don't need to pick up KOs. I'm not Dynamaxing this Pokemon most of the time, so I could afford to invest it more into its defenses, which is what I did with 4 attack adamant, 84 into defense, 164 into special defense, just to really absorb those attacks, especially like Calyrex Shadow Rider, which is a Pokemon that's always a big of a pain for me, and I do have the extra into speed. Overall, this Gyarados is just able to take a lot of attacks, take those water spots from Kyogre effectively, take anything else really, and you know, chip away at my opponent's team, which is what I really like to do with this Gyarados. I like to switch in attacks, get the Intimidate off, and of course Earthquake to proc the policy on Dialga, and that's absolutely what Gyarados did. So the final Pokemon is Grimmsnarl with a Light Clay, Prankster for the ability with Spirit Break, Throat Chop, Light Screen, and Reflect. So I knew that I wanted Screens Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl and Dialga are just a really good combination. There's a lot of mind games between the Trick Item, the Fake Tier set, and of course the Screens, which is what I really like with the Dialga set. It just makes Dialga really bulky, and the coverage that Grimmsnarl has for Spirit Break against like Urshifu is really nice, and of course the dark coverage to help against Calyrex Shadow Rider I thought was really valuable to the team overall, especially since I didn't plan to have Incineroar on the team originally. So I felt like having Grimmsnarl was really nice to have here for the dark coverage and the dark typing to help resist the Calyrex Shadow Rider and threaten it. So I do like the screen set, and of course Light Clay is the best set to have if you're running dual screens. I knew I was going to have Light Screen and Reflect, Spirit Break for sure to hit the Dark Urshifu mainly. And then the last move, I wasn't sure. Now, I did consider the Fake Tier set. I did consider Sucker Punch, but I felt like Draw Chop was better. I like Draw Chop because I can outspeed Incineroar and get rid of like those parting shots. Like it can't parting shot out against me, which I thought was, you know, something that could be really nice, because sometimes the way you play against Dialga with a team that doesn't really handle Dialga well is by slowing it down with parting shot from Incineroar for a lot of general teams. And I felt like, you know, I could Draw Chop that, prevent it, and it's really nice to have there. So I really did like having the Draw Chop. It hits Calyx Shadow Rider, and I don't really like Sucker Punch too much, mainly just because of the fact that Calyx Shadow Rider is a Pokemon that can run Substitute, and I'm not sure if they really run it in Series 11. I know in Series 10 it was definitely a very common move. In Series 11 it might be a bit different, but I just like having the Draw Chop because of how consistent it is, and I don't have to play mind games with the Sucker Punch Substitute, so I prefer consistency. So the EV spread is a little bit strange. It's an adjusted one from my Series 9 team, and overall the calcs I felt like were very minimal with the screens up, so I felt like I could invest more into speed. I invested a lot more into speed, and the main reason is to outspeed Incineroars that are meant to speed creep the Amoonguss that are timid, which is definitely a thing in the format. So I really felt like that was going to be my goal, especially since I had Draw Chop. I might as well just test it out. I feel like with the screens already, like Grimmsnarl was going to be able to live most attacks anyway, so just ended up trimming a bit from the defenses into the speed, and overall max HP just, it's still a bulky Pokemon. Like Grimmsnarl is going to survive a lot of attacks. That's not like Zacian, Behemoth Blade, and if I get intimidated off, I still probably live. And if I don't intimidate the Zacian and don't get Reflect Up, I'm gonna go down anyway, so didn't really make that much of a difference. And it's just a bulky Grimmsnarl that's fast and, you know, just does the job well. So how do you play with this team, and what are the common leads with the team? So overall, there's a lot of ways you can go about using the team. The main one is usually just trying to set up for Dialga, trying to dish out a lot of damage, bulking up using the screens, the max moves from Dialga. And there are a lot of ways to end up setting up a win condition, whether it's through Nasty Plot, Rotom Heat setting up, whether it's setting up Trick Room and allowing Dialga to do massive damage next to Perrserker, or Abomasnow able to dish out a lot of damage. There are a lot of multiple ways, but I'd say it's probably just trying to bulk up and do a lot of damage while you can. So that is the main goal of the team. So what are the common leads with the team? Overall, I feel like the most common leads involve Dialga trying to set up Trick Room usually, or just try to dish out a lot of damage with the max moves and set up properly. Usually it will be with Gyarados, Perrserker, or Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl Dialga is probably my favorite lead with the team because of the screens. It makes it very consistent to set up Trick Room, or I don't even have to set up Trick Room and I can just go for the max moves, and it just makes Dialga really hard to KO. And then you can set up Trick Room in the mid or late game potentially. Otherwise, Perrserker is not a bad lead with the fake out, but of course this is very situational. It's not like Incineroar where it's a lot easier to set up Trick Room with the Intimidate, and of course you are playing into potential max moves, so that is something to be cautious of. And then Gyarados plus Dialga, the Intimidate's really nice, and of course Gyarados to throw away some chip damage, and you can double up stuff like Incineroar, maybe pick up a KO, which is really nice to have here. But overall, I'd say Dialga Grimmsnarl is my most common lead with Dialga, but the others aren't a bad option. As a note for the Gyarados and Dialga lead, if you are going to lead this, make sure you are aware that the Gyarados is slower than the Dialga if you are going to try an Earthquake and Weakness Policy activation turn 1. Just as a mental note that you will be having the Dialga go first and have a max move before you get the Earthquake off, so that is something to be mindful of. Then otherwise common leads, I'd probably say Rotom Heat and Grimmsnarl are also really good. Grimmsnarl is just really good as a lead in general with screens. Rotom Heat plus Grimmsnarl is really common against Sun teams, I feel like, or just matches Rotom Heat's able to dish out a lot of damage up, and I'll try to set up Nasty Plot under the screens. And of course Grimmsnarl and Gyarados is a really good passive lead, which is really nice as I will be able to set up screens with the Intimidate support. It's just really nice to have. And I'd say otherwise my other most commonly would probably be Gyarados plus Rotom Heat for the Intimidate, but of course I usually will lead Grimmsnarl most of the time and then just have the Gyarados in the back to switch into Intimidate. So I don't lead Gyarados much, but Gyarados is an okay lead depending on the situation, but usually I'll just lead Grimmsnarl in most cases. And that is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed the thought process that went behind the Dialga Perrserker team. If you did, be sure to leave a like down below and leave a comment down below. It really does help out. And make sure you try out the rental team because you have 2 weeks to grab it before the code expires, but there is a payment available in the description down below. If you haven't already, if you haven't seen the episodes of the team, make sure you go check them out. But otherwise, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day, people, and until we battle again, I'll catch y'all later.